Night's nearly over, I muttered, watching the last passenger disappear into a college dorm, eyes glued to her phone as she slammed the car door behind her. I checked the clock, 12:48 a.m. One more ride, maybe. Then home. The streets were still buzzing, it was Friday after all, but I was fading. I flipped my status to available on the app and let the engine idle near a row of campus buildings. Students streamed by in loose knots, laughing, staggering, living. Then I saw her. She stood alone under a streetlight, small and still. Couldn't have been more than 16 or 17. Pale, with a long braid the color of old gold, a cardigan snug around her shoulders. One hand gripped a little brown purse like it might try to leave her. She looked like she belonged to a different era. And she looked scared. I rolled down the window and called out gently, "Hey, you all right?" She blinked and turned, startled. "Oh. Yes. I'm just waiting for someone." "Running late?" A pause. "I suppose they are," she said softly, eyes fixed on the empty street. There was something off, not just fear, but something in her body language that read like waiting wasn't her idea. "I can wait with you, if you'd like," I offered, switching myself to unavailable on the app. She shook her head. No, thank you. I'll be fine." But her voice trembled. I unlocked the passenger door anyway. "Come on. Just until your ride shows. I've had worse company tonight." She hesitated, glanced around like checking for permission, then climbed in. She was even smaller up close. The cardigan was covered in tiny embroidered flowers, same blush color as her dress. Everything about her was curated, almost doll-like. "You've got great taste," I said, handing her a bottle of water. "Vintage is coming back hard." She smiled, a small, uncertain thing, and whispered something close to a thank you. Silence settled over us for a while. Then, barely audible, "You have pretty eyes. Like green olives." I chuckled. "I made them myself." She laughed, a fragile sound, and looked back toward the road. When another 10 minutes passed in silence, I asked, "Want to call your ride?" "I don't have a phone," she replied. "And I don't know the number." I tilted my head. "You know where you're going?" She nodded. "Well, I'm heading that way anyway." "I'll take you." Her eyes widened. "I can't pay." "Don't worry about it. Consider it a favor to the universe." I unlocked my phone and handed it to her. "Here. Just type in the address." She entered it slowly, carefully. Then she turned to me. "Why are you being so nice?" I hesitated. "You remind me of someone. My little sister. We're not close anymore. She moved out west after she got married. I miss her." She seemed to consider that. "You're a good sister," she said. I pulled into the road, the GPS chirping in my lap. "I try." The car hummed beneath us as I followed the GPS into unfamiliar streets. Trees gave way to tall fences and roads that grew darker the farther we drove. We didn't speak much. The radio filled the space with soft static and distant jazz. Then she said, "I like your car. It's warm." I smiled. "Yeah, I try to keep it cozy. You'd be surprised how many people just sit back here and cry." She tilted her head. "Why do they cry?" "Too many reasons to count," I said. "Sometimes they tell me. Sometimes they don't." She was quiet for a beat, then, "Do you remember everyone you drive?" "No. Just the ones that make me feel something." She nodded slowly. "I think I understand. We passed through a stretch of road where even the streetlights seemed hesitant. I checked the app. 5 more minutes. Do your parents know where you are? I asked casually. She looked at me for a long moment before answering. They think I'm already home. That sat heavy in the car. Must be hard, I said. She shrugged. Then, without looking at me, you're not like the others. I raised an eyebrow. The others? Drivers. People. Is that a good thing? She didn't answer. Just then, the GPS pinged. A left turn into a tree-lined road I'd never noticed before. No lights. Just iron fences and thick overgrowth. I slowed down. You sure this is the place? She perked up. Yes. It's close. We turned onto a narrow gravel path. The GPS said 1 minute remaining. I felt a pit open in my stomach. Like something in the air had thickened. The girl sat perfectly still now, eyes ahead. Almost there, I murmured. She whispered, I know. We rolled to a slow crawl as the path narrowed, framed by ancient trees leaning too far inward. The air felt hollow. Not quiet, but emptied. Like sound had gone somewhere else. Then the gates appeared. Tall, iron, rusted deep. Beyond them, nothing but a faint outline of an old estate and rows of leaning stones swallowed by weeds. I hit the brakes and leaned forward, squinting through the windshield. This it? She didn't answer right away. Then, with the calm of someone waking from a dream, she said, Yes. Thank you for the ride. I blinked, unsure. You're welcome. She turned to me, smiling, genuinely this time. I'm Maribel, she said, her voice feather-light. Nice to meet you, Maribel. I'm Clara. She nodded once. It was a nice drive. And just like that, she unbuckled, opened the door, and stepped out. But she didn't walk toward the estate. She walked toward the gate's left edge, toward a rusted sign barely clinging to one last nail. My headlights caught the worn lettering as she passed beneath it. Eldridge Home for the Morally Infirm. Established 1911, closed 1963. I felt my stomach twist. The name was familiar, but not because I'd ever been here. I'd read about it. Years ago. On a true crime blog. That place was not a residence. It was a closed-down sanitarium. Demolished in sections after a fire. No one lived there. No one had for decades. I looked toward her. She paused at the entrance, then turned and waved at me, like we'd just had coffee together. Goodbye, Clara. Then she stepped through the gate and vanished into the darkness. I sat there. Engine running. Door still ajar. Something wasn't adding up. I grabbed my phone and typed Eldridge Home for the Morally Infirm into the browser. The signal here was weak, but a cached article loaded, one I'd read years back when insomnia made me a little too curious. And then I remembered. There was a girl. Blonde braid. Cardigan. Looked like she belonged in a dollhouse. She wasn't a victim. She was the reason the place shut down. Her name hadn't been Maribel. It was Isla Denon. 17 years old. Accused of killing both her younger sisters while under the institution's care in 1962. The story had chilled me when I read it, how she'd removed their eyes, claiming she needed to take the badness out. They called her the Doll Eyes Girl in the papers. But what stuck with me the most? The interview. The one surviving quote from her before the fire that supposedly consumed half the building. They weren't nice, she said. And I only like nice people. I stared at the gate where she'd just disappeared. My hands gripped the steering wheel. I was still parked in the middle of the path, my hazard lights blinking in slow rhythm, like a heartbeat. She had winked at me. Just like the newspaper said she did at the reporters before they took her away. I hadn't seen my sister in almost 3 years, but now I wasn't so sure Maribel, or Isla, was reminding me of her at all. She was reminding me of a face I'd tried to forget. From an old photo. From a grainy black and white article. From a case that never got closure. I sat frozen for I don't know how long, staring at the gate. I should have left the moment she walked off. But I didn't. I kept thinking, was that real? Did I really just talk to Isla Denon? How did she know my name? And then another thought whispered through the static in my head. Was that even a person? I put the car in reverse and backed slowly down the gravel path, half expecting her to reappear in my rearview mirror. She didn't. But something strange started happening as I pulled back onto the main road. The GPS on my phone blinked out. My phone screen went black and refused to turn back on. The radio let out a crackle, then silence. Even the headlights dimmed for a moment. I didn't believe in ghosts, not really. Not before tonight. But this didn't feel like a ghost story. This felt like I had just brushed up against something that wore personhood like a costume. Something that knew how to speak kindly, laugh softly, smile just enough. Something that practiced being nice. I drove home with the windows shut tight and the music off. Every time I passed a street lamp, I glanced toward the sidewalk. No one. Still, the thought stayed with me. What if that ride wasn't just for her? What if she was choosing? It's been weeks since that night, but I haven't turned the app back on. I uninstalled it 2 days later, after I noticed something strange in my ride history. There was no record of the pickup. Not the location. Not the route. Not even a timestamp. Nothing. Like the app blinked for 15 minutes and forgot I existed. But that wasn't the part that really got to me. That came when I found an old dashcam file stored on my backup cloud, a feed I'd forgotten was even running. It had recorded the entire ride. But when I played it back, something was wrong. She wasn't in the passenger seat. Not once. I heard my voice. Talking, joking. Offering her water. Laughing at her compliment. And silence in return. Just me. Talking to no one. No voice. No movement. Just an empty seat beside me, while I smiled like everything was fine. The car door had still opened. Closed. The seatbelt warning had dinged. The water bottle had disappeared. But there was no girl. Not on camera. Not in the ride history. Only in my memory. And in the mirror by my front door, where I sometimes catch a flash of blush pink when I pass too fast. A flicker of flowers. Once, I swear, I heard a voice behind me when the house was still. You're nice. Now, every night before bed, I double-check the locks. Not just the doors. The windows. The closet. The back seat of the car. Because I don't know if I gave her a ride home. Or if I brought her back.